Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people, shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution.
All grit.
All right. Sorry about that. I had to get my mic situated. But, man, it's game day. It's opening day. It's Chiefs and Ravens day. But in a few days, it's going to be the Lions and the Rams, and it's going down in Detroit. And we're going to talk about it all tonight. I know there's been a few other channels that have done their due diligence on trying to give you the little updates about the Detroit Lions. And that's what I'm going to start with, I think, first. Here's your update. The Lions injury report vastly changed. Actually, just one player changed. But didn't I just hear the other day that if he had an Achilles injury, right, that was going to keep him out for a long time, and spoke to a trainer or something like that. And now, Ifeatu Melifonwu was at practice. Could possibly play this Sunday. Doubtful. Highly doubtful. But Ifeatu Melifonwu has now been upgraded to at least practice. Here's the big bomb of the day. Bombshell of the day, I should say. Darius Williams on the other side for the LA Rams has been dealing with a hamstring strain since the second day of training camp, and seems that he's going to need another month to recover. He has now been placed on IR. The Rams' best corner, he's out of here. He's on the bench. He's done. Put a fork in him. It was an unexpected announcement today. Had no idea that this was even coming. But Ifeatu Melifonwu having a major upgrade, that's great. That's great news. Like I speculated last week, it sounded like it was more of a, of a strain to the Achilles. They're calling it an ankle. Maybe it is just the ankle. Really won't know anymore until tomorrow. So, great news for the Lions. Other Lions news injury report here. Lawrence Strickland is the only player who did not practice today. He is out with a thumb injury, unlikely to play this weekend. DJ Reader, limited with a quad. Still, same thing that he's been battling all offseason. His timetable, again, is set for week 2. But guess what? That door, and I need to get that sound bite. The creaking door. The door is wide open. Wide open to channel my inner Dan Miller. Wide open. Timetable is set for week 2 to come back. Could play week 1. Door's wide open. It's wide open. It's right there. So I'm excited about that. Still out is Tyler Higbee for the LA Rams. And a couple other participants here. Jonah Jackson, full participant. Puka Nacua, full participant. Rob Havenstein, limited participant. Of course, Darius Williams, he's out, IR. And Kobe Durant, limited participant. That is your update on the injury report for today. What do you say we break this thing wide open? Let's welcome everybody into the chat. Let's get these lights off. My goodness, what is going on here? Just realized they're all going crazy. All right, there we go. My apologies. Yep, so you can tell 6 p.m. is not my normal time, can't you? All right, let's have some fun with it tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. We got back-to-back shows tonight. Going to be on for quite a while. I hope that my voice can take it tonight because it's already strained. All right, let's see who we got in the house. We got Shane Smith. We got Trace. Rick's in the house. Roger Trappis. Who else is in here? Brent DeWitt. Josh Jackson. Michael Garrity. Steve K. Cake Man. Dennis Tydick. David Lyons. James O'Brien. Just a fan. Hello. Let's see. Casey's in the house. Bruce Morton. Tony Vlip. And Josh Jackson again says, hello, Will. Hello. Hello, Josh. How you doing? We only have 33 in right now. This is not our normal night. So you know what? They're just all going to miss these goodies. I'm not going to give you a 12-minute overview. I'm going to try to pack as much as I can in the next hour. I'm going to have to fly through a lot of it because there's a lot here. There's a lot here. I have 10 pages that I have written for tonight. And there's not a bunch of graphics. So let's just get it going. All right, first and foremost, the Detroit Lions are going to be hosting your LA Rams at Ford Field on Sunday night, September 8th, 2024 at 8:20 p.m. Doors are going to open about 3 hours before, so this is also a nationally televised game. Of course, it's Sunday Night Football on NBC with Mike Tirico play-by-play, Chris Collinsworth, he's the analyst of the night, and Melissa Stark on the sideline. Pre-game starts at 7 p.m., and you better believe that every single seat in Ford Field will be filled well before 7 p.m. I guarantee it. Live stream it on Peacock and NBC.com. Clearly, we all know that this is the sequel, the rematch, the redo, whatever you want to call it, from the 2023 playoffs. This is also the second time that Matthew Stafford has been back to his former home in as many seasons. Now, the Lions narrowly defeated the LA Rams in that playoff game, 24-23. The famous go-win route heard around the world secured the win for the Detroit Lions with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Both teams are definitely looking to get a hot start to the season, start this season strong, but only one is going to end up victorious. And with the Lions aiming to build on their playoff success from last season and the Rams seeking redemption, the sequel, the rematch, the redo, well, it's going to be on like, where's he at? Donkey Kong, are you in here? I don't see him. Lions favored by 3, over-under is 51 points. And your money line is Lions minus 175, Rams plus 145. And the spread 3.5? Really? I thought it was 3 earlier. 3.5? Here's some trends, though. If you're a bettor, which, of course, please bet responsibly. Don't take my advice. I'm the guy that bets $20 to win like 250,000, because I do all the crazy, stupid things that'll never hit. I'm that guy. Anyway, the Lions and Rams have each won one game since the Stafford and Goff trade. That would have been Stafford in 2021 and Goff this past playoff season. Now, the home team won in each of those games. Interesting, right? The away team covered the point spread in each of those games. The Lions have gone 8-2. The Lions went 8-2 last season as the home favorite, and the Rams went 2-5 as the away underdog. Detroit's game totals went over 65% of the time, and the Rams went over 50% of the time. All heavily favoring the Lions here, right? All heavily favoring the Lions. Tarico is insufferable and smug, says Casey. You know, he is from the Detroit area, I guess, or he lives around that area. I didn't know that until they said that during the playoffs. Your Detroit Lions 2024 draft pick. So how have these teams changed in just what are we talking? 7 months, 8 months since the last time we played? Well, we selected cornerback Terrion Arnold out of Alabama in the first round. Second round, we doubled down with Ennis Rakestraw, junior out of Mississippi. In the fourth round, we took tackle Giovanni Manu out of the University of British Columbia. Again, in the fourth round, Brad Holmes doing his thing, moving around, took safety and now running back Sione Vaki out of Utah. Sixth round, the Lions took defensive lineman Mekhi Wingo out of LSU. And again, in the sixth round, your Detroit Lions selected guard Christian Mahogany out of Boston College. And, super shout out to Christian Mahogany battling mono, getting his butt back to this team. All right, your LA Rams. If you're a Rams fan and you happen to be in here tonight, you're welcome in. Appreciate you sticking around throughout the show. You're always welcome. Just try to behave yourself. That's all we ask. It's, have the good jabs at each other, have a fun debate, but let's kind of keep, everything cordial, if you will. Rams 2024 draft picks, they had a lot, and they started out real hot. Jared Verse, first round, Florida State. They followed that up. They doubled down themselves with Braden Fisk, defensive lineman, Florida State. And then they took running back Blake Corum out of Michigan, familiar face in these parts, right? And then in the third round, they also took safety Cameron Kinchins out of Miami, Florida. Fifth round pick, edge Brennan Jackson out of Washington State. And then 3 sixth round picks, defensive lineman Tyler Davis, kicker Joshua Carty, wide receiver Jordan Whittington. So this is shaping up to be a fun game. It's also shaping up to be a fun weekend. And I'm expecting nothing less out of our Detroit Lions than to play this team extremely tough. There's obviously some bad blood that's still here. The whole Matthew Stafford, Kelly Stafford drama. Quite honestly, you know what I think? I think that Matthew Stafford probably told his wife just to, stay home. Like, she probably didn't make the decision. She's just going to use that, as her crutch or whatever. But I'm sure he just said, look, you gotta knock this crap off. Just stay home. So hopefully Matthew Stafford did that because she just creates drama everywhere she goes. So starting tonight off with a 2023 season recap, I thought was probably a good place to start. And the reason why is because, we haven't done anything yet this year, and there's really nothing to talk about. And it's really difficult to talk about a team, or at least two teams going up against each other, that have barely played each other. I mean, recently, yes, in the playoffs, teams have definitely changed a lot since then. And there's going to be some things that we're going to get into a little bit later. But I think the season recap made sense. So let's start off with none other than your bridge, who's definitely good enough for Detroit, Jared Goff. Now, he's been a key player for the Detroit Lions since his trade from the Rams, or should I say, since Sean McVay bashed him and then threw him in the trash, and then every single pundit and analyst and anybody that is in the media decided to all pile on the guy and say that he was garbage. Well, we obviously know that's not the truth, don't we? So anyway, last season, Jared Goff again threw for over 4,000 yards with 4,475. He also tossed 30 TDs to only 12 interceptions. pretty solid in my eyes. He finished statistically in the top 5 in most categories that really matter and protected the ball very well last season, picking apart defenses and taking what the defenses gave him, which is what a very good quarterback does. One of the best to get the ball out at under 2.9 seconds. It didn't matter if he was under immense pressure or not. Jared Goff protected that ball, delivered that ball, and won this Detroit fan base 2 playoff games. So super shout out to Jared Goff for not being a bridge. All right. So running game. Detroit Lions running game led by Jahmyr Gibbs, who had a breakout rookie season last season, 945 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns on the ground. He also added 316 yards through the air with 1 TD, but he missed 2 regular season games. What could have been for Jahmyr Gibbs? Easily would have broke 1,000 yards had he played in 1 more game. So a lot is left, on the plate, if you will, for this season with Jahmyr Gibbs. What are we going to see from him? How great of a season is he going to have? Is he going to go over 1,000? Is he going to touch 1,500? Is he going to have a combined 1,500? Could he touch 1,750? I think sky's the limit for the electrician, and I'm excited to see what Jahmyr Gibbs is going to put on the table, standing on business, ready to go this Sunday night. David Montgomery, the bowling ball, the wrecking ball, whatever you want to call him, he is him. In his first season as a Detroit Lion, running behind a capable offensive line for the first time ever in his career, anchored the run game with 1,015 yards on the ground, 13 TDs with 117 yards through the air. Wow. Did not expect that out of David Montgomery. Did not expect to have a combined 2,000 yards on the ground between 2 running backs, or just about 2,000. Just a little bit shy there, about what? 40 yards shy. Offensive line up next, man. This has been the absolute anchor of this team. You want to talk about an offensive line that just checks all the boxes. This is it. The Lions came into 2023 competing with the Philadelphia Eagles for the distinction of who was that top offensive line. At this point, it is really hard to argue against the Detroit Lions as the top offensive line in the NFL this season. Right tackle Penei Sewell played in every single game last season. However, the Lions were not without injury. Having been able to navigate small injury woes throughout the entire season, which is a huge credit, in my opinion, to Hank Fraley for having the depth of this roster always ready. This combination of Sewell, who only allowed 1 sack, 11 pressures on 602 pass attempts, and Frank Ragnow, 0 sacks, and 13 pressures on 504 pass attempts, all through week 15 of last year of the regular season, was a large reason as to why these Detroit Lions were so dominant up front, and was also a reason as to why Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery have the success that they do. However, the unsung hero of this group, the guy that I wanted back so badly this year, the guy that actually statistically had a better season than Jonah Jackson, Graham Glasgow. The veteran allowed just 2 sacks and 33 pressures on 542 pass attempts, again through week 15. Glasgow has accomplished this all while splitting time between 3 different interior positions. That's amazing work by Graham Glasgow. Left guard, right guard, center. Doesn't matter where you put him. The guy had an extremely solid season. And now he's going to be here through at least 2026. Next up, we're going to talk about your receiving core. 2023, the Lions saw another level unleashed by Amon-Ra St. Brown. During the regular and the postseason, this guy just completely played, like I said, at another level. He broke Calvin Johnson's receiving yards record in the first 40 games with 2,738 yards. He set personal best during the regular season in receptions, 119, and yards, 1,515, and 10 touchdowns. Count them, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 touchdowns to Amon-Ra St. Brown. The dude was completely undeniable, untouchable in 2023. Is he going to do it again in 2024? I think it starts Sunday night. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to have a big game. Can Amon-Ra break Herman Moore's record of 123 receptions in 2024? You can count it because that's a jackpot call. I'm calling it right now. He's going to have 124 at least. We'll find out soon enough. But then the Detroit Lions lost Josh Reynolds, who, in my opinion, and many others, Josh Reynolds was kind of Jared Goff's safety valve, if you will. You know, when Amon-Ra was covered or out with injury, in his place, the Lions' third-year wide receiver, I'm sorry, I'm skipping over my own content. When Josh Reynolds, the Lions lost Josh Reynolds, who was Jared Goff's safety valve, when Amon-Ra was out or covered. Now, I know a lot of you are still disgruntled about what happened in the NFC Championship game. But I think that we can all agree now, after rewatching the game a half a dozen times, that there was a lot more that went on that game in the second half than just Josh Reynolds. Can't blame the guy, but what you can do is when you go back and you look, like I was listening to one of the games today, how often I heard Josh Reynolds' name getting called at just the right time. The guy was always there at the right time when we needed something. Just so happened he had his moment, at the wrong time. Is what it is. But now, in his place, the Detroit Lions' third-year wide receiver, Jamison Waymo Williams, is set to take the stage. And quite honestly, he's going to light it on fire. You look for Williams to get a healthy dose of targets in 2024 as he is now stepping into a role for the first time in his career. And while he looked ready for the spotlight in camp, he's stepping into a starting role for the first time in his career. And while he looked ready for the spotlight in camp, we'll need to see him produce in games. And that has to begin in week 1. Wide receiver 3 was a revolving door, not only at the tail end of last year, but all offseason. It still is. Yeah, Khalif's holding it down, but really, it's still wide open. And the Lions are turning to now a pair of 30-plus-year-olds in Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson to provide serviceable production. As I am very excited to see what Jamison Williams is going to do this season, I will not lie to you and tell you that I am also a little bit concerned. I think, I just had to answer that text. I think that Jamo's going to have an amazing season. I do. I think 808 is the floor for this guy. But I've got to see it. I have to see it game in and game out, week in and week out. I know the energy's there. I know the work ethic is now there. And he's on the right path to success. And then you call up the tight end. Yep, I'm placing the tight end position firmly in the receiving category. Brad Holmes once again proves the entire league and national writers wrong once again. Selecting Sam Laporta in the second round, pick number 34. I don't really think that I need to explain just how incredible his season was. But I will say that it was actually needed. Without his production and his performance last season, I firmly believe the Lions do not make the playoffs. We were missing that other it factor. We were missing another true X receiver that could really do the things that Sam Laporta was doing, even though he was doing it as a tight end. This season, a lot of us are expecting growth out of Sam Laporta, but it is sure going to be difficult to top or even come close to what he did last season. Let me give you a rundown of what Sam Laporta did and just how incredible it really was. Here you go. NFL records. First tight end to have 5+ receptions in each of the first 3 games of his career. NFL record. First tight end to have 60+ receptions, 675 yards, and 6 touchdowns through their first 12 games of their career. NFL record. Most receptions by a tight end in a rookie season. 86. NFL record, first rookie tight end to tally at least 70 receptions, 700 yards, and 8 touchdowns in a single season. Another NFL record tied for the most touchdowns by a rookie tight end in the Super Bowl era. Pretty incredible, but the list goes on. Lions franchise records, most receptions by a tight end in a single season, most receptions by a tight end in a rookie season, most receiving yards by a tight end in a single season, most receiving yards by a tight end in a rookie season, most receiving touchdowns by a tight end in a single season, most receiving touchdowns by a tight end in a rookie season, most receiving touchdowns by a player in a rookie season, most receiving yards by a tight end in a rookie game, 140 against the New Orleans Saints. Man, that's a lot. That's one hell of a first year. How are you going to top that, Sam? It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think you guys understand why I wanted to start with kind of a year in review here. We sure had one hell of a season, and I'm not even going to get into the defense. I'd be here for forever because, well, the defense wasn't that great. Might have been kind of quick, but Aiden had a good year. We'll give him a super shout out. Aiden had a good year. Liam had a good year too. We'll give him a shout out. Now the rest of the team, starting from the DBs back, well,
busted.
They were busted. Hopefully not this year, though. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. All right, let's get into the LA Rams here in just a second. Let me see what the chat's saying. Saying. Just got another ad. That's wonderful. Appreciate it. Did I miss anything? I hope not. Yep, we talked about Williams. Dennis Williams is out. He's on IR for the next 4 weeks. He'll be back maybe week 5 for the Rams, which you know what that means already. These Lions are about to light it up. It's going to be it could be an air raid offense, but I still believe they want to run the ball this weekend. We'll see. We'll see how Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, and Kobe Turner react this weekend. If they get overpowered, we might just run the ball all night long. If they don't, and we're having any sort of struggles, we'll just throw it up. We'll throw it up because they're not going to have anybody in the back end of their defense to be able to protect it. J-Mo has nobody now to cover him. Just think about that. I'll let that marinate for a little bit. LA Rams offense. Quarterback, Matthew Stafford. He's returning to Detroit for the second time since the trade. Despite injuries last season, he managed to throw, for less than Jared Goff, 3,965 yards. Less than Jared Goff, 24 touchdowns. And this one, less than Jared Goff, 11 interceptions. So he beat Jared by one INT. But he didn't play in every game last year either. Nearly brought the Rams back late in the fourth quarter of the wild card round in Detroit to put the dagger in the hearts of the Lions fans. But he didn't. And the Lions went on to win another game. Running game. Kyron Williams broke out in a big way in 2023. He racked up 1,144 yards, 206 receiving yards, and 15 total TDs. So he beat every running back on the Lions roster last season. He did that in just 12 games, missing 4 in the middle of the season with an ankle injury, and then sitting out a meaningless regular season finale. Backing up Williams is the newbie on the block, Blake Corum. He is no stranger to these parts. He is a former U of M star. Blake is slotted as the primary kick returner. Get that? As of about 4 hours ago, the news broke that Blake Corum is going to be the primary kick returner for the Rams in this weekend's game. So he will get some action. There has been rumors of a 50-50 split in the backfield, keeping fresh legs in this game. So you might see a little bit more of Blake than what was originally expected. But man, with Williams having such an amazing season last year, let's just hope our run defense stays alive. Receiving core. The Rams receiving core got a huge boost last season, just like the Lions did with Sam Laporta. Puka Nacua arrived. The leader of this room, Cooper Kupp, who missed part of last season due to injury, is back. He is healthy, and he is expected to be a major factor. But Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, and Demarcus Robinson round out a very solid receiving group that also added what appears to be another late-round gem in Jordan Whittington. Puka Nacua appeared in all 17 games. He had 105 receptions, 1,486 yards, and 6 TDs on the season. Kupp, who appeared in 12 games, was having a solid season, finishing with 59 receptions, 737 yards, and 5 TDs. And then Atwell also had a solid performance as a third and fourth option. He finished the season with 39 receptions, 483 yards, and 3 TDs. Now, do not sleep on old Tutu Atwell. If you guys remember, he saw one target, he caught one ball, and he ran it 38 yards for a TD in the wild card game versus the Lions this last season. Tight end, the Rams are missing a dynamic tight end in this matchup. Tyler Higbee is still out, and Colby Parkinson is anything but impressive. Offensive line, the Rams spent big on their interior offensive line, extending guard Kevin Dotson and signing guard Jonah Jackson from the Detroit Lions in free agency. They also expected left tackle Alaric Jackson and they also extended left tackle Alaric Jackson and moved guard Steve Avila to center to accommodate the arrival of Jonah Jackson. Now, heading into the season, Avila is back at left guard to help protect the left side of their line, which is missing Alaric Jackson due to a suspension, which means Jonah Jackson is now filling in at center after missing most of camp with a shoulder injury. I thought it was a fingernail injury. I guess it was a shoulder. Right tackle Rob Havenstein has yet to practice as he returns from an ankle injury. He could suit up this week. As I mentioned earlier in the injury report, he still has a ways to go yet. The Rams season is predicated on keeping 36-year-old quarterback Matthew Stafford upright. Are they going to be able to do it this weekend? I don't think so. I really don't. All right, after all that said, I need to take a drink. I also need to make sure that my phone line is going to be open. I'm going to try to... I'm not going to be able to take a phone call today. I might be able to do it in the next show. All right, so your Detroit Lions. New defense. Again in 2024. Should be vastly different from 2023. However, I expect the Lions to use a mix of defensive fronts and coverage schemes to disrupt Stafford's rhythm and keep this running game at bay. To effectively contain Stafford's arm, though, notice I didn't say legs, right? 36 years old. Stafford does not want to run at all. The Lions need to shut down the passing attack as the secondary focus really. And what I mean by that, I'll kind of get into some of that here momentarily, but why I say secondary, why that is a secondary, because really our primary is we got to shut the run down. The Rams offense, though, albeit tattered and suspended, they still have Cooper Kupp. They have the up-and-comer Jordan Whittington. And, of course, last year's arrival of Puka Nacua, all 4 receivers in this offense that can spark at any point in time. They also have running back Kyron Williams and now Blake Corum, who can both be dynamic if allowed to run. In my opinion, the Lions should focus on generating consistent pressure on Matthew Stafford. That's key number 1. But not the way you may be thinking here. And I'm going to try to explain it, but this can be achieved through creative blitzes, strong defensive line play, and then generating gap penetrating pressure. Not just pressure, right? They need to get in between the gaps this time and stop the run, as the main focused attention needs to be on the edge and making the Rams more one-dimensional. disguising these coverages to confuse Stafford is easier said than done. Stafford has seen it all and maybe one of the best at diagnosing defenses in the NFL. Except there is a wild card here this year for the Lions. Who is it? Who's our wild card this year? Brian Branch. Brian Branch is going to be all over the field. He's going to be at safety. He's going to be at nickel. And he will pick off Matthew Stafford in this game. Now, Puka Nacua is firmly entrenched as a 1A, 1B option in this Rams passing attack. Some may attribute Nakua's early season success in 2023 to Cooper Kupp's absence due to injury. However, Nacua continued to produce at a high level even when Cooper Kupp was in the lineup. And while Nacua set the bar pretty high in his rookie season, his ability to excel was mainly against, get this, here's the other wild card, zone coverage. What did the Lions run a lot of last season? Zone coverage. They tried to do man, right? We tried to run a lot of man, but it seemed like we were always running zone because our backs were always turned running downfield. Always. This year, we shouldn't see that as often. And Puka Nacua's yards against the zone shouldn't also happen in this game if we're running man. So guess what? The Lions are going to be going to more of a man press scheme here in 2024, and we will see this particularly slow down Nacua in week 1. With a vast amount of tape study done this offseason by all teams in the NFL on Puka Nacua, and especially the Lions bringing in 4 corners that all excel at man press defense, it is undeniable that the Lions defense is planning to play Nacua and Kupp very physical. I feel this is answered by looking at the statistical output for the Rams in 2023, though. The Rams use 11 personnel more than any other NFL offense. This personnel group consists of 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers. The Rams used 11 personnel 93.1% of the time last season and 90.3% of the time in 2022. What is really crazy to me is that the Rams are not even very deceptive at hiding what they're doing with the ball. When Stafford is in shotgun, he is passing the ball over 90% of the time. That makes it pretty easy to have better success calling the right defense and selling out against the pass with a lower margin of error or blown coverage. 11 personnel is common offensive package that balances the passing attack and the rushing game. It also allows the Rams to gather intelligence and force other teams to play their nickel defenses in ways they are not designed to. So how do you stop Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams in an 11 personnel defense? Well, that's what we're going to talk about now. I chose 2 different options for this weekend. I don't know if the Lions are going to do it, right? I'm sure they will at some point, but I don't know if they're going to do it often. But we're in a 4-3 base hybrid defense, right? We run a gap and a half scheme. So how do you put yourself in a position to protect yourself against 11 personnel? I love 11 personnel, personally. I also like to see, when the Lions run 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end, or 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and 1 wide receiver. I mean, hell, I've even seen that before. So any which way you want to slice it here, I think that what you're going to start with is the cover 1 with man press in the 4-3 base. The reason why is because you can also run, I'm sorry, I just said that backwards. The cover 1 nickel with man press. The reason why you start in the nickel is because you can hide and disguise the cover 1 with man press in the 4-3 base. It's interchangeable. Yeah, you may have an extra linebacker in one or an extra DB in another. either way, if you're quick enough, right, of getting the guys in and out, you're able to disguise what you're in. Or sometimes you just have to roll with an extra big safety, right? And it doesn't matter at that point. You roll with an extra big safety, you drop him down in the box like he's a linebacker, and then the next play, you do the same thing, but he's playing in a 4-3 base. So you're going to keep the Rams guessing here. So what are the differences? Here you go. The 4-3 cover one with man press coverage in 4-3. This involves a single high safety with all other defensive backs in man coverage. It includes press at the line of scrimmage. This is something that is very important here, something that I asked all last year for the Lions to do, and I never seen them do it once. It allows for aggressive man coverage while maintaining deep safety help. The press coverage can disrupt timing routes, and the deep safety provides coverage against the deep passes, which obviously Stafford can do. But the biggest thing here is getting your hands on the receiver. Jam the receiver at the line. When you come up into man press, there is no reason why you can't get physical with these guys, and you still have somebody behind you to cover your butt. The Lions didn't do that last year. We were trying to run man press with zone corners, and none of these zone corners wanted to put their hands on receivers. And that's why we got eaten alive over the middle in almost every single game last year. Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, they both go for what, 200 apiece last year? Something like that. 180 and 200. It's because nobody wanted to get physical. That can't happen this year. I think you're going to see a more physical style of defense, because if you just slow these guys down, a hesitation, well, that means now the DJ Reader or Lee McNeil or Marcus Davenport or Aiden Hutchinson has that hesitation now to get to the quarterback. That's why it's so important to have the right players fit your scheme, which the Lions finally have. All right, so then you have the cover one nickel with press man coverage. So it's very similar to the cover one in a base 4-3 scheme, but it's adapted for the nickel defense. And this involves a single high safety and press coverage from all cornerbacks and the nickel back. The strengths of this defense offers strong man-to-man coverage while still having a safety to cover the deep routes. You see how it's very similar to each other. This setup is particularly effective against spread offenses and multiple receiver sets, which is the 11 personnel. I expect to see a lot more single high safety looks in this matchup early on Sunday night. The disguise here is that the Lions can run essentially the same defense in the 4-3 and the nickel with the same personnel groupings. This will also allow the defense to jam the receivers at the line, bumping them off the route and the timing with Stafford, and then utilizing a stronger interior defensive line play, which we just elevated to create pressure up the middle. This will force Stafford to move around. It'll also allow the edge containment to then kind of close in the bookends and shut it down. As soon as we get interior pressure, your edge containment can collapse. You got one firing across the front, one firing across the back. There's nowhere for him to go. Of course, this doesn't mean that running this defense will 100% shut the Rams down. We know that. But it will give them the better odds with the personnel fits to stack up against the Rams, who are always in the 11 personnel in shotgun, and they're always passing the ball. 1 out of 10 plays, they're going to run it. I'll take those odds every day and twice on Sunday. Every Lion, every Lion has to win their one-on-ones, right? In both of these defenses, and be ready for the play. Okay, so what happens if they run the ball out of shotgun? So they do the 1 out of 10. Well, this is where the Lions need to employ that spy or somebody that's not fully engaged and running downfield with their back turned all the time, which we saw all last season. Somebody has to be facing forward, right? Well, that's where your edge guys come into play. Your edge guys should never, ever, ever, ever lose sight of the quarterback and the running back. Ever. They should always have their eyes on and be ready and in a position to be able to flip and run and get across the offensive line or get behind it or in front of the defense and get to the ball carrier. It's not going to be Stafford. Stafford is not going to run the ball. He will only run if he sees a wide open lane, and then he's going to go right down. So he's going to have to hand it off. But by doing this, right, by employing some form of a spy, whether it's Barnes on the outside, whether it's Aiden Hutchinson one play and Davenport the next, whether it's that extra nickel defender, a DB that is kind of just shading over the flats, just ready to react, whoever it is, we need somebody. This will limit the delayed handoff from having a blown play opportunity by the defense, creating big yards for the offense. Now, when you get into pressure strategies for this defense, the Lions need to have a big mix of well-timed blitzes from the linebackers, the DBs. Both can disrupt Stafford's timing and force him to make very quick decisions that sometimes turn into bad plays or broken plays, tipped balls. I'm hoping that Terrell Williams is coaching these guys to get their hands up, right? They've got to be jumping and getting their hands up on every pass. How often last year do you not see the Lions trying to tip the ball at the line? John Kaminsky was actually one of the better ones to do that. I'm hoping that we see it more. DJ Reader is one of those guys. He'll get his paws up. Hopefully Mekhi Wingo is one of those guys. Hopefully Broderick Martin is one of those guys. And hopefully, like I said, Terrell Williams is training these guys to get those paws up when you see that ball coming forward. All it takes is deflection, and that ball is going the other way. So blitz packages, they got to mix blitzes efficiently. They need to have simulated pressures, right? You show the blitz and then you drop back. You show the blitz and then you drop back. This can kind of get them off their rhythm, because at one point you're going to be dropping back and someone's going to be firing off the edge. So while Stafford's focused on the middle of the defense dropping back, there goes Brian Branch, or there goes Tyrion Arnold, or Carlton Banks, or whoever is out on the Kirby Joseph, anybody, right? Could be anybody. Third point here on pressure strategies is just kind of staying home. If the Lions can just play some disciplined football this Sunday and every Sunday and not get way too off center, right? Don't get too excited. They can have great success by just managing to keep the ball in front of them. If Hutch wants to blow up the line and get into the backfield, well, he better not get too deep. That was the issue his first year. He started to tame it down a little bit last year. Otherwise, I would expect AG to have a DB covering his backside to mitigate the broken containment zones, which he did often last year as well. Stafford is not who I worry about running the ball, like I've said multiple times tonight. It's the dump-off pass. It's the drag route that worries me the most. It's the little bubble screens or, any sort of screen. Stafford is really good at hiding those things, and then, boop, there goes Kyron Williams, for 60 yards. Stafford can get the ball out as fast as anyone in the league. We know that. All right, overall, the Lions will need to be creative. They'll need to be adaptive. They'll need to combine pressure in coverage to keep Williams at bay and Stafford from explosive playmaking abilities. How are we doing so far? Are you guys liking the format so far? I know I had to get through this one kind of quick because we got the next show. Otherwise, this is usually about a 2-hour show. We'll walk through it all and take phone calls and all that good stuff. Next up, I got 6 keys to this game. Or stats and keys to the game. Some matchups, if you will. I got some matchups to the game. And if I could get this thing to get a little smaller, I could read it. All right, so first up, let's talk about a few stats here. Lions offense. In 2023, Lions put up 27.1 points per game, 5th in the NFL. They put up 394.8 yards per game, 3rd in the NFL. They averaged 258.9 passing yards per game, which was good for 2nd, and 139.1 yards on the ground, which was good for 5th. I never thought that I would see I never thought that I would see again in my life where we had 100-yard rushers. And then for the Lions to average 39.1 yards last year, man, that was absolutely incredible. And I think that they're going to be able to do it again this year. I really do. Now, conversely to those numbers, the Rams defense, which is drastically different, they were allowing 22.2 points per game. They were allowing 337.9 yards per game, which was 20th in the league. They allowed 231.1 passing yards per game and 106.8 rushing yards per game, which is good for 12th. Let me get this, make this a little bigger here. So, in all, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything really for this year. It really doesn't. They're just some stats from last year. I mean, this is a brand new season starting on Sunday. And so all of those numbers, they don't mean anything. We're going to have to start off with all brand new ones. But it kind of gives you an idea, at least from an offensive perspective that has stayed the same, what we should be able to do this year. Again, there's no reason why we can't get close to all those numbers again. And defensively for the Rams, I mean, this is a new defense. They don't have Aaron Donald. They've added two extremely dynamic edge rushers, a defensive lineman with Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. Like this could end up being a nightmare situation for the Lions. It really could. But when I go back and look at the games like the Las Vegas Raiders and the Chargers and the 49ers, our offensive line never cracked. Not once, even with injuries. We never cracked against the best pass rushers in the league. And for the fact that the Rams are coming in with two rookies and one second-year player and no Aaron Donald, and their best linebacker is gone, and now their best DB is gone, makes you think that you should just run away with this game. Like, we better not lose this game. There should be no reason in the world to lose this game. So it's kind of putting the emphasis back on what? Our DBs. That's who's going to win or lose this game this weekend, is our DBs. Because everything else is pretty fair, right? It's pretty even to a degree. I mean, they don't have a DB that can cover, one of our guys, so we should be able to pass the ball all game if we want to. And we got a bunch of, we got a couple of rookies back there and a second-year player. We also have a couple dogs back there. Excuse me, with Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson. John Jones says the defense will be a dog. Offense should keep rolling, especially in the all-black unis. It'd be nice, man. I hope. So anyway, here's the 6 keys or matchups to the game. Number 1. You got defensive back Quentin Lake now versus wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown is not exclusively a slot receiver. I don't know why I got the yawns today. Anyway, he's not just exclusively a slot receiver, but splitting time on the inside and as a boundary receiver is what is expected of Amon-Ra St. Brown this weekend. The Rams are much better equipped to cover St. Brown, or they were, now than they were back in January after signing both Tre'Davious White and Darius Williams. But Darius Williams is gone. He's done. So looking now to the matchup inside will be against Lake. So now you're going to have Tre'Davious White and Quentin Lake trying to hold down Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then one of them is going to be tasked with trying to hold off Sam Laporta as well as Jameson Williams. Good luck, because your defense is going to get jackpotted by our offense. Linebacker Troy Reader versus Jahmyr Gibbs. It's surprising to say that linebacker Troy Reader will be the Rams' starting inside linebacker, but that's just the reality of the situation now that Ernest Jones was traded away. Chris Shula will find ways to limit Reader's exposure in coverage by using more nickel and dime with safeties all over the field. But the Lions are still going to get their elusive receiving back matched up with Reader a handful of times. So I look for Jahmyr Gibbs to be able to expose this and potentially have a pretty big game. And see, that's the funny thing about this, right? So even if Darius Williams was in the game, and let's say Amon-Ra only goes for 70 yards and Jameson only goes for 40 and Laporta only goes for 60 and everyone's kind of bottled up, you still have Jahmyr Gibbs that can take advantage of the weak link over the middle. So it is going to be so difficult for teams to line up one-on-one. I mean, you literally have to have 4 or 5. I hate to use the term Pro Bowl, but Pro Bowl-esque players, right? All pro type players to be able to defend these guys. Not many teams even have 1, let alone 3, 4, or 5. Good luck. Anyway, no one expects Reader to lock down Gibbs. I sure as hell don't either. But he does need to try to limit the yards after catch, and that's not going to happen either. Remember, Gibbs runs 22 miles an hour. So if you miss a tackle, he's gone. So this will be a backbreaker for the Rams if Gibbs is able to expose Reader early, because then that's just going to open everything up. Because then the Rams are going to try to clamp down. They're going to try to fit everybody into the middle of the defense, and the Lions are going to go outside, and they're going to go tall, and they're going to get deep. And that's where Jameson Williams is going to have a fun night. Third matchup is right tackle Rob Havenstein or Warren McClendon up against defensive end Aiden Hutchinson. You know, it's going to be a nice warm welcome when Aiden Hutchinson gets to tackle Blake Corum. I don't know if you guys have thought about that yet. How's that meeting going to happen? What do you think Aiden's going to do here? Is he going to make the tackle? Is he going to crush the guy? It's kind of weird, right? I mean, they were such close, teammates. I don't know. It could be interesting to see what happens here. Sean McVay hasn't said whether Havenstein will be able to go against the Lions, but whether it's him or McClendon at right tackle, they're going to have a tough day at the office. Aiden Hutchinson is a legitimate defensive player of the year candidate this season. And I don't mean this in a negative way. I mean it in a positive way, that it's all going to be because of the way the DJ Reader and Aleem McNeil and Marcus Davenport are going to command attention, which is going to allow Aiden Hutchinson to free up and to win his one-on-ones and have a lot more success, have a lot more opportunity. You know, he's not going to have to get shaded all the time or chipped all the time or bumped. I feel like this is a great opportunity for Aiden Hutchinson to really kind of break out of his shell this year. Hutchinson is a game wrecker at defensive end, has the ability to be, at least, both as a pass rusher and a run stopper. The one thing that really affected his game last year was that 24% missed tackle rate. Can't happen this year. Cannot. That number's got to stay much lower, especially off the end. You cannot miss tackles. His ability to convert speed to power is fascinating. The way Aiden can the way he goes, when he locks and he goes, it's fascinating to watch. He's another wild card of the game, especially if Havenstein's not able to go and Aiden gets to eat on McClendon. It could be a multi-sack game. It really could. It could get wild. Hutchinson was absolutely dominant in that game last year. He recorded a team-high 9 pressures, 2 sacks, albeit, a couple of touchdown sacks, 5 quarterback hits, and 2 tackles for loss. The Rams cannot let him control the line of scrimmage again, but guess what? It's going to happen. Sorry, it's going to happen. Now, this one's going to be fun, this next one. Outside linebacker Jared Verse against Penei Sewell. And I will say this. I think that Jared Verse is entering the league as a much better pass rusher than what Aiden entered the league as. Jared has a much more powerful punch to him than what Aiden did in his rookie year. Jared has more pass rushing techniques early in his development versus what Aiden did. Now you compare Aiden to Jared now, no, not close. But Jared is coming into the league a much more well-rounded pass rusher. So it is going to be a good test for Penei, but I don't expect Penei to lose the battle here. There's going to be a couple of plays, I think, in this one that Jared might have some success, but I do not think he gets to the quarterback, Jared Goff, in this matchup at all. Now, Verse will be welcome to the NFL with a very difficult matchup against Penei Sewell, who is the best tackle in the game, right or left, I don't care. Sewell allowed just 2 pressures in the playoff game last year against the Rams and earned an overall grade of 92.8 on the season. Now, Shula could move his edge rushers around to find out where they best fit. But with Byron Young primarily rushing off the right side last season, it's assumed that Verse will get most of his reps at the left side. Regardless, whether it's Verse or Young rushing against Sewell, one of them will need to find ways to generate pressure on Jared Goff in the pocket. Not going to happen. Next to last one here is Puka Nacua versus cornerback Terrion Sub-Zero Arnold. Now, Arnold is projected to be a starter for the Lions right away. He should be out there Sunday night with the first 11 on the field, throwing the rookie corner into the fire against the likes of Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Demarcus Robinson. The Lions had no answer for Nacua last postseason when the rookie wide receiver had a career-high 181 yards on 9 catches. But they hope Arnold can help solve some of those woes along with veteran Carlton Davis. Now, Arnold, a first-round pick, was terrific in college at Alabama. But Nacua is a physical receiver who could have the advantage in that area. Using his strength to outmuscle Arnold in 50-50 situations, well, that's just going to be something we have to watch out for this weekend. And when it comes to beating the press off the line, we'll see. We'll see if Arnold can stack up. But I do know this. Axel Foley would stack up. And I'll tell you what, they are a spitting image of each other. All right, last one, Cooper Kupp on Brian Branch. I think this one's a no-brainer for me. I think Cooper Kupp's a great wide receiver. I really do. I think he's, got a whole bag full of tricks. But I think that Brian Branch is a special kind of dude. Now, with Arnold and Davis likely being the primary boundary corners, and the news coming out that they're going to be able to float, they're going to be able to kind of move back and forward, left side or right side on this defense, that kind of puts Branch into a position that he's going to pick up whoever the third wide receiver is going to be on these plays. And that could be Kupp more often than not, if Kupp is going to be flying out of the slot. So, like St. Brown, Kupp isn't just a slot receiver, though. He's also sure to move around in the formation, but he is his best when he comes out of the slot. Branch did shine as a rookie last season, and he should only get better here in 2024. But he'll be tested right away against a player of Kupp's caliber. And last postseason, Brian Branch allowed just 1 catch for 4 yards to Kupp and a total of just 4 receptions for 27 yards against the Rams pass catchers. I spoke about the wild card, man. We've got a brand new cast of DBs this year. And I think that that's the ace in the hole this weekend, is that for once we're going to be able to hold a set of wide receivers at bay, and your Detroit Lions defensive front is going to be able to do some work. And it's going to be fun to watch. And Ford Field is going to be rocking and rolling. It's going to be vibrating just like it was last year. I mean, literally vibrating. And I hope to see you all there. So here is my predictions for the game. I hate doing predictions on the first game. I really do. Really, 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 really do. It is very difficult to kind of figure out what's about to happen here. It's week one. I mean, some teams, they'll get blown out. Some teams that should have a high-powered offense won't do anything. Sometimes both teams have a defensive game and nobody does anything. But I got to pull these things up. You guys already know my score. Detroit Lions 35-17 over the Rams. I do believe that's going to happen. At least I think the Lions will probably get close to 30. I don't think I've ever called a score right, ever. I don't think it's ever happened. I've been close, really close. Actually, no, I think I called the Super Bowl. I think I did call the Super Bowl score. I have to go back and check the receipts now. It's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a defensive game. You know, the Lions are going to show up defensively. I just hope the Lions offense does not sputter. Like, they need to get rolling. Last year, Jared Goff was 22 of 27 for 277. And I think he's going to be right there again. I think that Jared Goff's going to probably be in that 25 of 30. Nah, I take that back. It's probably going to be right in that 22 of 28, 22 of 29. We're probably going to run the ball a little bit more, just like we did last time. Jared Goff's going to put up 300 yards, probably, because J-Mo's going to take some deep, probably. Here's where I'm at. Jared Goff, he's going to put up 300 this weekend. He's probably going to chuck the ball 30 times, even though I really think it's going to be lower than that. So he's going to put up 30 balls. He's going to go for 300 yards. He's going to throw 2 TDs. 1 to J-Mo. 1 to Laporta. And then Montgomery and Gibbs are going to get some things rolling on the ground. As far as top rusher of the game, I think it's going to be David Montgomery. And I think Montgomery's probably going to put up 90. And Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to put up 55. I think that's where they're at. And both of them get a TD in the game. Gibbs is probably going to come by pass. Montgomery's probably going to come by running it in. No, I take that back. Jahmyr Gibbs will get one on the ground. They'll both get one on the ground. Those are my slight predictions of the game. I'll probably put out the real predictions before the game, like I always do. But just looking at it, just kind of looking at what both teams did last year. I mean, both quarterbacks were dead even. 25 of 36, 22 of 27, 120 to 121 rating. I mean, just dead even. 10.3 average to 10.2. Three sacks out of 22 hurries, 2 sacks out of 10 hurries for Stafford. We just didn't get home enough last year. We didn't get enough pressures last year. According to this, we didn't. I could have sworn or Hutch had like 5 pressures or 9 pressures. But anyway, that's it for tonight's pregame show. Now, the next pregame show will have a lot more interaction with you guys, and we'll make it more entertaining. Like, I still have 10 questions to get through that came in this week, and I'll probably do those tomorrow morning. I'll do those on the Rise and Grind morning show. I got 10 questions that came in for this show. So mailbag at rockdown.com. Do not forget to send us questions, statements, ideas, whatever. Tell us I suck. It doesn't matter. Just send it in. Mailbag at rockdown.com. And we'll try to get to all your questions and statements throughout the week. At least once a week. But next week, when we do the pregame show, we'll have the phone lines open because I'll have a full night to be able to do it. Tonight, the Tonight show that's coming up at 7:30 will actually be on Wednesday nights. So look for that. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. So if you're in this show right now, or if you're joining it late, it will redirect into the Fantasy Football Tonight, FFT, coming up at 7:30. Appreciate you guys sticking with me tonight. We'll see you here in just a few more minutes. Appreciate you guys. Take care. Go on Pride. Go Detroit Lions. We'll see you back here in just a few. Of course, I'm in the wrong screen, so I don't even know how I'm going to get out of this screen now. 1 second. There we go.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution.